We're seeing a wave of violence that's moving through society that's increasing in both frequency as well as intensity. If you look at just the recent events, yesterday the horrible tragedy in France, a few days before that down in Dallas, a week or two before that Orlando, Florida, and the shooting in a nightclub. We've seen violence, in society and internationally for years and years. But there's something that's happening now, particularly with this terrorist threat, that's making it even more important that people have a good understanding of how to protect themselves, both organizationally as well as individually. If you're thinking about the workplace safety as well as travel safety, we don't want people to be paranoid, but we want you to understand there are real legitimate risks that are out there. And so the best thing that we found is that whether you're in your workplace setting or if you're traveling with your family, having a basic awareness of some fundamental principles of safety in the workplace and when you travel abroad can be very helpful. For example, when we talk about workplace safety, we know that workplace violence doesn't just happen. There are almost always warning signs along the way of people that are building up to violence. Same thing with travel safety. Some people think, well, I'm just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes that's true. If you look at the thing that happened in France yesterday, I'm sure there were people that weren't thinking about being run over by a truck while they're out watching fireworks. On the other hand, most violence that takes place and most crimes that take place against travelers on their vacation or for business travel, usually it's some type of a planned event where the individuals that are involved in it have opportunities to either prevent or respond before it happens. If you ever find yourself in an extreme violence scenario, say for example the shooting that happened in the nightclub down in Orlando, what a horrible tragedy. Almost 100 people were shot and almost 50 were killed. What we know from training millions of people on how to respond to extreme violence is that you basically have three options. First of all, if you're trained, we say you can either get out, you're going to hide out and keep out from the shooter from getting access to where you're at, or you're going to confront them and take them out. If you think about it, in a close confined area, if somebody's there with a weapon or a gun and they're shooting and there are multiple people behind or from the sides, the odds are actually in favor of the individuals acting against the assailant rather than just sitting there and getting shot. But that's the last case scenario. First thing you want to do if you can, you just want to get out and you want to run and you want to get away from wherever the danger is. If you can't do that, then you want to go to some location like a bathroom or a closet where you can block them from getting access to where you're at and hide out and keep them out. The last case scenario is what I mentioned earlier, and that's take them out. Yeah, one of the things that we teach our students when they come through our training is that most of us have what I call just kind of an inner knowing. That before something bad really happens, many times people will either have a sense about it or a feeling. They'll say, something doesn't feel right here. We don't want people to ignore that because invariably when a crisis happens or an extreme violence incident and you talk to the people involved and you ask them, did you know that something wasn't right before it actually occurred? They'll say, 9 times out of 10, I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was. And so I didn't change anything. I didn't avoid going into that restaurant, or I kept on walking down that street. What we want you to do is trust your instincts, because all of us, to varying degrees, have an internal red flag. Here at CPPS, we don't want people to be afraid. We don't want you to be scared to walk around town or go to a shopping mall or a movie theater. What we want is you to be aware and to understand that the best way to survive a terrorist event or an active shooter incident is never to get in one. And so we want you to have tools, and if you go to our website, there are tools that are there that you can either download, or links that are some for training materials and some are just free resources. And so we want to prepare and equip every individual to know that they can prevent many times from being in a violent incident based on how they carry themselves, what they're aware of, how they're paying attention to their surroundings. And God forbid you find yourself in one of these worst case scenarios. Before first responders arrive, you all are immediate responders. And more often than not, it's what you do or don't do that's going to determine, are you going to get through it.